Welcome back. President Trump will address the American people about border security in less than 2 hours. Despite earlier reports, the Washington Post now says President Trump is not expected to make an emergency declaration at the border during tonight's address. The battle for the border wall funding has shut down the government for 18 days and counting now. President Trump says immigration is a national crisis, while the Democrats say the president is fear-mongering, and they allege his speech will be full of lies and misinformation. Joining me now is Dr. Mark Caleb Smith, the director of the Center of Political Studies at Cedarville University. I want to thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure to be with you.
President Trump insists that he will not reopen the government until wall funding is included in a spending bill. Do you think he doubles down on that tonight, or will he plan to make peace with Democrats?
I think he probably doubles down on that tonight. If there's one issue that's really defined the Trump presidency, even going back to the campaign in 2016, it's been immigration and it's been funding for a wall. And so I think he doubles down on it. I don't think he would use an Oval Office address simply to make peace.
We have a deadline looming large, and that's the deadline for the next paycheck. The next government paycheck, Thursday into Friday. If we don't reach a resolution, what's at stake here?
I don't think for most Americans they'll see a big difference, but what's at stake really is perhaps some of the financial health for many of those over 500,000 federal workers who would go without pay. I think our typical conception is that these are high-level bureaucrats who make a very generous living. That isn't always the case, and so some of these people, just like me and you, live on regular incomes, and this will be a serious financial setback for them. But I don't think that's going to generate a lot of sympathy out of the American people. They just tend not to view their government in those kinds of terms.
Okay, so we have 18 days and counting. What is it going to take to bring the two sides together and to come to some kind of resolution?
You know, I think we can say that both sides have a really solid hold on their own base. Democrats think they have really good support from their base. The president would say the same thing about his. This may come down to independents. Independents broke for Donald Trump by about 4 or 5 percentage points in 2016. If we start to see polling that independents maybe were persuaded somewhat by tonight's address, then maybe Donald Trump gets some leverage and Democrats come back to the negotiating table. If polling shows that independents weren't all that thrilled with what was said and they seem to be moving away from President Trump, I think that gives the president a pause about moving forward. So maybe we're going to need to wait to see some polling and see how Americans actually think about what was said before we see some change in the dynamics.
And do you think that's what this is all about? Feeling out the American people?
I mean, to a large extent it is. I mean, really, both parties have their eyes on 2020 already, which is a little bit unfortunate in some ways. I think as American citizens, we grow tired of sort of the constant running for election and running for re-election. But this is about 2020. This isn't just about funding. This isn't about $5 billion. This is about which side can position itself best for the next presidential election.
All right, Professor Smith, we want to thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.